Hi, I'm Nan Simonson, and I'm about to make a creamy green soup. It's with chard and spinach in this case. It could be any number of greens. I have 3 bunches of greens here that I got at the farm store. This is the rainbow Swiss chard, so I have about half the amount of chard and then a bunch of baby spinach. And I don't look like I'm ready to do any cooking. Here are some leaves from them. You can see the rainbow effect there. But I just ran in. I want to throw something in for dinner, and then I'm running out again. So I'm just doing this fast. I have a hot pan here, no oil. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I don't use oil. I think food is healthy. I don't think oil is. And it is processed, and I encourage people to consider whole food, plant-based ingredients for maximum health. Not to mention the fact that I can eat almost a pound and a half of broccoli for the same amount of calories that 1 tablespoon of oil would offer. The broccoli would fill my body with phytonutrients, phytochemicals, polyphenols, protein. It would make my cells sing. The oil would do nothing. And if it's olive oil, it doesn't belong in a hot pan because it oxidizes at 375 anyway. So, no oil. Pan was hot. The onions are going to brown beautifully. This is what you do. I call it a dry saute because it starts out dry, but I'll use a broth. This is homemade broth. I talk about that in a number of videos, and I even have one on making your own broth just by saving little bits and pieces of vegetables that most people would throw away. Even the tops of my leeks. This is a bowl of sliced leeks. At the end of this video, you'll see a photo of them in kind of a still life. Even the ends of that were too tough to go into the soup went into my bag in the freezer, and that'll all head into a pot. Well, I was going to say like this. Actually, this pot. When the 1 gallon bag is full, I'm adding a little bit of broth. It bubbles, brings up the brown bits. That's called deglazing. I'll do that a couple of times. And that bag of frozen greens, even when for example, when I go to a farm store where in our area they pick right out of the fields, and I'll go there and you get what they picked that day. I always get parsley, and I do this twice. And then I add the garlic, parsley and cilantro. That leftover from the week before, which is still good, gets replaced by the newest. Well, that goes into my bag, and that also becomes part of my broth. So I have now onion that is browning and caramelizing beautifully. I'm going to add to that my chopped garlic, and there are videos of me showing you how I very quickly peel the garlic and then chop it with a nice little device. And chopped garlic is, the average clove is 1 teaspoon chopped. So I just put in, I'm going to cheat, add a little bit more. I just added 2.5 teaspoons of garlic. How many cloves? 2.5 cloves. And it's very handy to have it chopped in advance, so I do a whole bunch of it at one time. You want to be careful with garlic. The onion can hit the pan and weep and weep and weep and caramelize. Garlic hits the pan, browns, and gets bitter. So we don't let the garlic get too brown. Now I'm going to add a little bit of broth, and then I'm going to add 1 additional allium. What's an allium? That's the genus, that's the family name for the onion family, which includes shallots, leeks, scallions, red onions, white onions, spring onions, garlic. and they're the aromatics, and that's what give our dishes so much flavor. They are very healthy, even when cooked. They are healthy raw. So I do a little of both. Always have something with garlic cooked in it, and then have a little bit sliced on the side to put on top of stews and soups and things like that. Look how beautifully caramelized that is. Isn't that nice? And I'm on a relatively, here, sorry. Oh, sorry for my hand. I'm on a relatively high flame here. All right, now I'm going to add 2 big leeks. And what you have to know about leeks, and I have a picture at the end of the video because maybe some of you aren't familiar with leek. And if you're thinking, I can't get leeks, or man, leeks are very expensive in my area, just use more onion. But the leek, just like a scallion, just like a shallot, just like a chive, just like a green onion, the leek has a softer, different kind of a nuance than, let's say, a Hawaiian sweet onion, or let's say a brown globe onion or a red onion. So the leek does add something to it if you can get them. You can get them in a pack at Trader Joe's for a couple dollars. I got these big ones. I'm talking about 2 large ones for this. I got these at one of our local health stores, and it was, what, $2.50 for both of them? So I'm going to cook this. I'm not going to have you hang on and wait. I'm going to cook this for about another 7 to 10 minutes and let it brown, but this gently, because the leek doesn't have a lot of the juice that the original onion did, and so I have to watch it and do it a little more gently. But this is what it looks like in the pan. Look how much allium I have, aromatics I have in this recipe. I'll get you back on, and then we'll look at the rest of the recipe. It goes fast, it goes quick, it's gorgeous green, and it is so nutritious. Your body will thank you. I'll be back. I got a new device. Okay, I'm back. So this is our combination of leek and onion. Can you see how beautiful that is? The beauty of it connotes flavor. That's what we're looking at. We are not just looking at something being brown, but that deglazing brings out some wonderful, rich, I'll call it umami, as well as sweetness. And the food is not quite the same without that little extra time that you spend. But now what am I going to do? I cleaned up my chard and my spinach, took off, I have a pile of the stems, the areas that were the stem and the root end. And if I have stems, it's very little now, and this is mainly leaves. This is a 16-cup bowl. I am pouring this in. The last time I made this, I had big bunches of chard with the big stems. So when I took those stems off, and then spinach, I had about 2 pounds, and this was 2 pounds. But I had, I think, less volume of leaf left. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to need more broth for sure than I used last time. But I'm going to start with what I did before, and that is 4 cups of broth. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need more. I'm going to bring this to a simmer. Now, if you've ever done greens, and I do greens all the time, beets from the store, always eat the greens. Turnips from the store, eat the greens. I've done radish. It's a little too kind of scratchy, and I wasn't crazy about it. I've done carrot greens. Nah, not so crazy about it. But the beets and the turnips are terrific. Mustard greens, you have to cook them longer. But yeah, I know I'm going to need more broth, and I still have another container of my homemade broth, and I'll add more of it. But what's going to happen now is I am cooking this to get it, probably about, 5 to 7 minutes to get it not tender, but to get it very wilted. And I'm going to stop when it's bright green. And that's why you have to watch it. Last time I made it, I think I went 7 or 8 minutes, and it was starting to turn olive green. And so my soup was, and I still have leftovers, is sort of an olive green, but still very pretty and delicious. But I want this one to be bright green. So I'm going to be watching it, and I'll show you the finished product. What's going to happen after this is cooked is I'm either going to use an immersion blender to blend it into a cream, or I probably, because it's a big volume, I don't know, I'll try it, I'll let you know what I did. And I'll note it in the recipe what my preference is. I'll either use the immersion blender, sometimes, especially in a full pot, that can get a little messy. By then, I'll probably be in an apron. And all my running around will be done. Or I'll just put the whole thing, but in batches with the cover slightly askew, into my Vitamix. In batches, because it's hot, you never have it in a sealed container. Pooh, you'll have a problem, and you don't want it spewing on you when it's that hot. But I'll see, and I'm going to see how long this is actually going to take. It's cooking down, but yes, I'm going to want more broth in there. So I'll give you all of that. But to tell you that if you buy your Swiss chard, the way I see it in most stores, long stems, a few leaves, you're going to have fewer leaves and the 4 cups will be fine. So work with that, because what you want is an end product that when it's whirred up in the blender or using the immersion blender, your end result is silky and wonderful. Now, what am I going to add at the end? I'm going to add lemon juice. These are my own Meyer lemons. I've squeezed it. Now, I could say use the juice of a lemon, but I'm going to use part of this and be sure to taste it and only add more lemon if I think it needs it. The Meyer lemon is a hybrid. It's a hybrid of a mandarin and a lemon, so it has a different flavor than another lemon. It's also larger, so I could say use the juice of a lemon, and it might be a smaller lemon and have a little bit more biting of a flavor. But the big thing here that I want to be sure that you consider is getting a plane, a microplane for getting zest from citrus. And you don't try to get it when it's been squeezed, because you don't have the rigor there. And what I've already done is I've taken most of the peel off, but this microplane, you can see remnants of my food in it, or this peel, is you just run it along here and you don't keep going over and over. You get the deep yellow out and then you stop, because the pith can be bitter. And this flavor, this extreme lemon with that extra oil that is in the rind, is a showstopper, and it really makes a difference. So cooking this, stopping when it's bright green, adding lemon and citrus, and then the part that makes it especially creamy, oh, I have it in the picture, I'm sorry. I'm not adding it yet. I don't even add it until the whole thing's been whipped up. And that is coconut cream. And this is, it's light coconut oil. I wouldn't use the full fat one. This is far less fat and far fewer, well, half of the calories of the full fat coconut oil. You can use a half of a can. I put a half in, then I put a third, no, I put a quarter, then a half, then 3/4, and thought, whatever, and used the whole thing in my last batch, and oh, I just loved it. And calorie-wise, we were probably looking at less than 100 calories for a cup and a half of the soup anyway, because what do you have in here? No oil, just a fat connected to another food. Okay.